Wow, look at this amazing $20 find. Let's see what it can do. I'll be honest, this video started off with me looking at a $20 computer that could still edit videos. I did 2 of these videos a long time ago, and I wanted to see if these old and cheap computers could still make some YouTube videos. This AMD Phenom 2 dual-core B53 processor from 2012 was a little better than the E2160 video editing computer I used to make a lot of my earlier YouTube videos. It was also sporting 4 GB of 1066 RAM instead of 2 GB from my earlier computers, so on paper this should have been a breeze. Well, no surprise. Running Windows 10 was brutally slow and really a poor user experience. I tried OpenShot, which was the software I used to use, but not much could get done without pulling what's left of my hair out. The usual fix for a slow Western Digital Green 5400 RPM drive is to swap out to an SSD. I couldn't get the SSD to boot properly, so the fix, which usually works for older hardware, was out of the question. So I reverted to Linux Lite, which had saved me so many times before with older hardware. Running OpenShot was better, but maybe the newer versions are becoming more complex because the playback was choppy and everything felt so sluggish, and I was just using 1080p footage. It's just not a great user experience. Why would anybody want an old computer like this when you got tablets, phones, laptops? Does an old desktop still have a role in 2021? Is this only good for the electronics recycling depot? This doesn't need to be a deep dive, but I'll touch on a few basics as to why a purchase like this still makes sense. First and most obvious is cost. $20. You can still get a functioning computer that does all your online applications such as Google Docs, your banking, web browsing, streaming of videos and movies from all your platforms. I like Kodi personally, and on this computer it works flawlessly on Windows and Linux OSs. And of course, watching Ladybug Adventure videos. Sure, you need a monitor, but you can get used ones for $10 to $20, keyboard and mouse for next to nothing, and sometimes just for free, Wi-Fi dongle for $10 brand new, or simply use an Ethernet cable. So for around $50, you got a computer that does 99% of what people actually use their computers for on a daily basis. No, this won't edit your videos well or game. For that student on a budget or simply someone who needs a basic computer, spending over $1,000 Canadian after taxes on a Mac Mini, for example, makes absolutely no sense for the majority of people. But of course they still do, and they do in droves. You could buy about 20 of my $20 computers for the price of a new Mac Mini, and that's the cheapest of the Macs. Now, you'll say, what about a cheap used laptop? Simply, you'll get inferior components for the same price. You'll pay for the smaller size, and often these older laptops are less reliable and have a poor battery life. Okay, tablets. You can do everything you want on a tablet these days. You can even attach a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, etc. True, and I think tablets are fantastic and probably the most versatile. And they're also quite expensive if you want decent hardware. Once you go used for the cheaper and lesser known brands, the specs are poor and the user experience will suffer. Battery life also becomes an issue when you go used, and internal storage can be a huge problem for some. With a desktop, the sky's the limit for storage options. Now phones. This will be short, small screens. You can do everything, but if you want to type out a document or have multiple things open and go back and forth, heck no. Sure, the desktop has its flaws. It's heavy, it needs space to live, but man, if you are a little handy and do your research, and you can do so much. You can expand your storage very cheap with some used drives. You can upgrade your CPU. Some laptops you can't. You can upgrade your RAM or add a video card. Upgrading can increase the lifespan of the computer or improve your experience with things being snappier. On these old computers, the components are still very cheap to upgrade. Using an SSD can be a game changer. My daughter still uses a 13-year-old desktop for all her classes, and the SSD swap was a key. The Linux OSs are also amazing. So many to choose from, and some are lighter than Windows and will work on the oldest of hardware. So if Windows is painful to use, switch over to Linux for most of your day-to-day web applications, and you won't miss good old Microsoft. So don't give up on these old desktops. Think about how you actually use a computer. If you're not a gamer or do heavy-duty tasks, then you can save a lot of money and reduce some waste. This is perfect for online schooling, casual use, and older adults. Don't get me wrong, you have to be a bit tech savvy, but if I can figure it out, really, anyone can. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next Ladybug adventure.